what's different about 12-step recovery is that there is an absence of profit motive. We have no leaders. We have a set of traditions that we'll go through. And I don't want this to be very much a lecture. I don't want to go through a PowerPoint. I more want to share about what recovery is. Fundamentally, there is a conception that recovery is something that's not Christian. And I understand why that is, because of the battle, the protective boundary that people place around it not being Christian, so that all people can be brought into recovery. And so its origins are Christian. And one of the books that we will be using as a suggestion, and all these are suggestions, the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the Recovery Bible, which functions through the 12 steps. Within the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, there was a man that was a stockbroker. His name was Bill W. And in the 1920s, there was no cure for alcoholism. There was no reasonable hope of managing alcoholism or expecting some kind of a cessation, or once you were too far gone, it was they made arrangements for you the same way they make arrangements for Alzheimer's, right? There's no cure. There's a hope. There's a prayer. There's sometimes, you can make it slower, but alcoholism is a chronic, progressive, and fatal illness. And we'll keep it, but I feel the need to kind of keep it centered around alcohol and substances, because there are other programs for gambling, shopping addiction, and you can replace and use these steps on all of them. But for the purposes of where it began, he could not stop drinking, and he kept trying over and over again. He had a wife that was trying to get him sober. It was killing her. She ended up having to take work and put him into an asylum. And one day a friend came to his home named Ebby Thatcher, and he was sober. And Ebby was born again. Ebby had became born again at a group outside of New York called the Oxford Group. And they practiced, it was a brand of Christianity that emphasized looking at your past, writing out, what you've wanted to get off of your chest, confessing it, and then being willing to make an amends. He sees his friend gets him to come to the Oxford Group, and Bill Wilson does an altar call. He gives his life to Christ, and he says, whatever he's got, I want some of it. Unfortunately, Bill drank again. And so Bill is in the hospital. They told him if he drank again, he was already having health issues, that he was going to die more than likely. And as he sat there kind of resigned to that fate, he had given God a chance. He had gone up to the front of the church, and yet here he was again, and he's cursing at God. And this is all in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And he talks about, how he's mad at God, and he hears this voice that says, "Who are you to say there is no God?" is what he heard. And he says in his words that it was as if scales fell from his eyes, and he saw the light, and he was filled with this glow. He had a white light born again experience. And I had that same experience in 2018 during the cancer fight. That is why we are having this conversation after I had a white light experience similar to Bill W's and got sober in 2002.